Start with Scott Bessent. He's a hedge fund billionaire, long-term advisor to the president-elect. Were you surprised by that choice at all?
A little bit. I'm still trying to figure out if it's Bessent or Bessent, so we'll go with Bessent for right now. A little bit because he was not involved in the first Trump administration, so I don't know him through politics. Keep in mind, the Treasury Secretary is sort of a unique position within any cabinet. You sort of have to have one foot on Wall Street and one foot in Washington, D.C. You have to understand capital markets and credit, all the things that go into driving our capitalist system. And at the same time, you have to understand Washington, D.C. Everybody I've talked to say Scotty gets the first part. He understands New York City, Wall Street, et cetera. But I don't think anybody in Washington, D.C. knows him. And that's going to be a big challenge for him because, as you folks talked about just a few minutes ago, the president's top legislative priority is going to be getting the tax bill extended this year. And the Treasury Secretary is going to have a big role in that, which means he's going to have to learn how to handle Washington very, very quickly.
A name everyone in Washington is well aware of is Matt Gaetz, who, of course, took his name out of contention as Attorney General. We understand Trump chose Gaetz without telling his chief of staff, Susie Wiles. Can you talk to us, Mick, about being in that position and knowing Susie Wiles? How much do you believe she may have played a role in Trump's decision to ultimately pick Gaetz?
I don't know if Susie and Matt have a relationship that go back to Florida. So if they do, I'm not aware of it. But let's talk generally about what might happen if a cabinet pick would go to the president and say, look, I want out. That happened to me a couple different times. We had a couple cabinet secretaries go and bypass the chief of staff to tell the president. And how the chief of staff looked at that, how they perceived, I perceived it as sort of impacting my ability to do my job depended on whether or not the president had a personal relationship with that person. And I think that Gaetz and the president are very tight. So as the chief of staff, you wouldn't be bothered by this. You wouldn't be offended by this. You wouldn't be felt like you'd left out of the process. But again, if it's somebody else, it could be a different story.
Let's turn to the Department of Government Efficiency. Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, making waves yet again this week, saying government employees should be back in the office 5 days a week. Obviously, they're getting a bit of pushback. Your thoughts on that?
It's the right decision. Anybody who spent any time in Washington, D.C. over the course of the last 3 or 4 years know that the federal workers not coming to work is killing the city. It's killing government productivity, what little of it there is, and it's just wrong. People should go to work, and I'm glad to see that Vivek and Elon have taken this as one of their first initiatives to get people back into work. The taxpayers deserve to have the people they've hired come to work and work for them every single day. So this remote working, which, you know, I've always thought was sort of not working, needs to end. So I was excited that they picked up on that right away, and that it looks like that'll be one of their first initiatives.
Yeah, they have said, both men have said they will start cutting $500 billion in spending. You've spent a lot of time in D.C. You're heavily involved in politics. Talk to me about the challenges when you're digging through these numbers. Where do you even start here, Mick?
That is going to be really, really hard. I know that the transition team has been working on legal theories regarding impoundment, where a president might be able to say, you know what, I know Congress says I have to spend this, but I'm not going to. On its face, it's not legal after the Budget Control Act of 1974, but I know they're looking at new legal interpretations of what control a president has over how money flows. But generally speaking, it's Congress that spends the money. And if Congress says that the Department of Education is supposed to spend $17 billion, then the administration is supposed to spend that $17 billion. I hope they figure out a way to fix it because we need it. But this is going to be much more difficult, I think, than Vivek and Elon realize.
We have to talk about MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's heading up a subcommittee that will work in tandem with both Musk and Ramaswamy on government efficiency. I'm curious, how do you see her working with Musk and Ramaswamy?
Well, the key is going to be this. I mean, the proof will be in the pudding. The DOGE group, the Department of Government Efficiency, is going to need legislation in order to do a lot of the things that it wants to do, okay? It can have all the public sort of hoopla that it wants, but right now it has zero, as far as I know, statutory authority. They can make recommendations, and that's it. If you're going to have wholesale changes in the way that the government works, in what we call civil service reform, that will take laws getting passed by the House and the Senate, signed by the president. So I think, again, the proof will be in the pudding on Marjorie Taylor Greene's performance. If she can get bills through the House that help fix government efficiencies, she'll be successful. Other than that, not so much.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.